The first speaker coming up is one I'm sure many, if not all of you know, is Quasar, Stephen Going. And he has a piece of his mind.
Is this on? This has been quite a week, quite a year. I know Gertrude, Mary wants me to talk from my heart. I wrote down something, so I'll try to satisfy both. I'm happy so many people came out. I am devastated that we need to come out for this sort of thing. I think we all know the country is in a horrendous state of affairs right now. I'm going to do my speech right now. Okay, I'm so weak. Okay, so for those of you who missed it, I say Black lives, you say matter. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. I say all lives matter when? Black lives matter. 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 Thank you. So I'm a life member of the NAACP, and that is certainly a place where we believe that Black lives matter. As Miriam said, today is the first in a series of marches and rallies inspired by the most significant electoral catastrophe, I think, in the history of our republic. The election of Donald J. Trump as the 45th President of the United States. It's fitting that these marches and rallies start with Black Lives Matter. That's really fitting. Because Donald Trump's rise to his political rise really started by attempting to illegitimate perhaps the most prominent black life in America, our President, Barack Obama. By leading the birther movement and staying with the issue long after everybody else had given it up. Like long after Obama, and I hate that he did this, long after Obama released his long-term birth certificate, he came to the show us your papers. Our African-American president was made to show his papers. And it didn't satisfy who it didn't satisfy, right? Because it was all a sham in the first place. It wasn't until the last month of this election, 5 years later, that Trump said, I guess. Right? So Trump became the darling of white supremacists, the darling of white nationalists. They swear they're different things, I really don't care. It's the same. I put them all in the same bucket, right? But he became the darling of these folks by trashing our African American president. So it all started with the rhetoric against black people. And then after he has built fame over this, when he finally decides to run for the office, the moment that he announces, the first people he goes after are immigrants, undocumented immigrants, Mexican Americans. So he started with African Americans, he went to undocumented immigrants, then against Mexicans, then against Mexican Americans, then against Muslims, then against people with disabilities, then against women, and I don't have time to say all the things that he's been against. But what it has signaled to millions, this is sad to say, what it has signaled to millions of Americans is that they no longer have to hide their bigotry. He brought the bigots out of the shadows and into the light, off of the streets, and into his cabinet. But it started with black people. There's a famous quote from Martin Niemöller, which goes, "First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me. and there was no one left to speak for me. Well, first Trump came for the blacks, and then he came for the Latinos, and then the Muslims, and then the women and gays. And mark my words, he will eventually come to you. So what does it mean to speak out or to speak for? I've already given you an example. To speak out, I say Black lives matter. 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 Here's an example of speak for. All lives matter when?
Black lives matter.
All lives matter when?
Black lives matter.
All lives matter when?
Black lives matter.
You know, saying that Black lives matter is absolutely necessary. It's good for the soul. It's good for the spirit. It is absolutely necessary, but it is not enough. You know, the Declaration of Independence started optimistically. All men are born equal in our Declaration of Independence. That's what it said. All men are born equal. At the same time, all over this nation, African men and women, because they certainly weren't Americans, were born into slavery. At the same time that we were saying all men are born equal, Africans in this country were born into slavery. So all men are created equal. And Black Lives Matter are spiritual truths. They're spiritual truths. They don't have to be proven. It's intrinsically so. They're spiritual truths, but they're sociological lies. For God, the universe, Mother Nature, science may affirm rhetorically, intrinsically, the equality of value among our lives, but socially, society has systematically taken what is equal, of equal value, of equal worth, and has made it, has perverted it to be unequal. So we have a spiritual truth when we say Black Lives Matter. Sociologically, it's a lie. It's not true. Just like when we said all men are born equal, just like the lovely thoughts in our Declaration of Independence, we become, over time, we try to become a more perfect people, a more perfect union. That's something that we have to work on. We have to hold on to the truth and keep telling each other the truth, but recognize that it's our job to make what is, for all practical purposes, a lie, the truth. Miriam asked me, she wanted me to talk about statistics. First, before I talk about statistics, because that's what you wanted me to do here. First, what I want to do is I want to thank Miriam, and I want to thank Gertrude, and I want everyone to applaud wildly. Because they are actually doing, I don't know how many of you saw Obama's farewell speech. You know, but what did he ask us to do? He basically asked us to step up our citizenship, right? And so Miriam and Gertrude have not asked for not waited for anybody to appoint them to anything, right? They have just taken something and taken off and said, we'll figure it out on the way. And that's what we all have to do. And so I'm really grateful for these community members who will do that. So when do Black Lives Matter? So when will it be true? In fact, and not just in spirit, that Black Lives Matter. It'll be true when we have equality under the law, when we have equality in the criminal justice system, when our education and our health outcomes and our housing, when our income, our wealth, when we have equality in everything. That's what it takes. So I'll go through these depressing statistics for a moment, and then I'll get off the stage. Let's see. So here's the truth. African American poverty rate is 24%. White poverty rate is 9%. The black-white achievement gap, 4th grade reading, 26 points, 4th grade math, 26 points, 12th grade reading, worse, 30 points. Suspensions, this is anyone who's ever been suspended in their K through 12 time, like even once. Black males, 43%. White males, 21%. Black females, 29%. White females, 9%. College enrollment, blacks, 34%. Whites, 42%. That's enrollment. What about degrees? Bachelor degrees, 19% of black adults have bachelor degrees, 33% of whites. Health, uninsured, 19% of blacks are uninsured, white 10% of whites. African American men are 50% more likely to develop lung cancer than white men. African Americans have a rate of diabetes at 33 per 100,000 compared to a rate of 23 in whites. Representing only 12% of the total U.S. population, African Americans make up almost 37% of all AIDS cases reported in the country. Criminal justice, African Americans are incarcerated at nearly 6 times the rate of whites. And we know that the American prison system is basically what took the place of slavery. Hello. Nationwide, African Americans represent 26% of juvenile arrests, 44% of youth who are detained, 46% of youth who are judicially waived to criminal court, young people tried as adults, and 58% of youth admitted to state prisons. About 14 million whites and 2.6 million African Americans report illicit drug use, but five times as many whites are using drugs as African Americans, yet African Americans are sent to prison for drug offenses at 10 times the rate of whites. African Americans represent 12% of the total population of drug users, but 38% of those are arrested for drug offenses, and 59 of those in state prisons for drug use. African Americans serve virtually as much time in prison for a drug offense as whites do for a violent offense. And so again, let's go back to our spiritual truth. Black lives
Matter.
Black lives
Matter.
Black lives
Matter.
All lives matter when?
Black lives matter.
All lives matter when?
Black lives matter.
Let's make it so. Thank you.